Scotland, a dark night, an ancient castle, mist rising, a shadowy figure on the ramparts, and the sound of bagpipes. Pipes played by a piper who, it is said, met a sad fate over 400 years ago. Now, Duntrune Castle was built in the 12th century, but this story happens in the mid-1600s. At that time, there was war in England that had spread to Scotland, and in Scotland it took the form of battle after battle between families and clans and forces, ancient foes. And in this particular story, the foes are the MacDonalds and the Campbells. Now, Duntrune Castle was held by the Campbells, but the MacDonalds had plans. The MacDonalds at that time were led by a man named Colkitto. He was 6.5 feet tall and with strength and skill to match. He had achieved so many victories in battle that, as one of his rewards, he was given his own personal piper. Well, one day, the MacDonald forces attacked Duntrune Castle. They captured the castle, and they killed all of the Campbells who were there. Then Colkitto had his eyes on future battles, more castles, more victories. But he didn't want to leave Duntrune deserted, so he left a small force there, and he also left his piper. And then the MacDonalds sailed off for further glory in battle. Well, the small force that was left there at Duntrune, they expected that Colkitto and the MacDonalds would soon return with tales of victory. What they did not expect was that before that happened, the Campbells would return with reinforcements, and that was exactly what happened. The Campbells returned. They surprised the small force there at Duntrune Castle. They recaptured the castle, and they killed all the MacDonalds, except for the piper. They spared the piper. Now, why didn't they kill the piper? Some people say that it was considered bad luck to kill a piper, and they didn't want to bring that curse down upon them. Others say that they simply enjoyed his music each evening. But others maintain, and the historical record bears this out, that they had plans, and their plans included the piper. You see, the Campbells realized that what the MacDonalds would be expecting was that they would come back to Duntrune Castle, be welcomed by the force that they had left there, and the victory celebrations would begin. They would not have heard that the Campbells had retaken the castle. So when the MacDonalds arrived, it would be a surprise. And just to make it even more surprising, they had a plan for the piper. They said that when we see the MacDonald ships arriving, we'll send the piper up to the ramparts to play a tune, an upbeat, happy tune that will be familiar to the MacDonalds. We'll welcome them back to the castle. And then they'll be surprised when they don't find their people here, but ours. Well, so they watched for the approaching MacDonald ships, and when they saw them in the distance, they armed themselves, the Campbells did, and they sent the piper up to the ramparts and ordered him to play what they'd asked for. And he did begin to play a happy tune that would be recognized and welcomed by the arriving MacDonald forces. But you remember that this was the MacDonald's piper. And so at some point, his music changed, and he began to play something more serious, more somber, a tune that in later years became known as the Piper's Warning. And though this piper was an excellent musician who never made mistakes in his playing, just to make sure that he got his message across, he began to make mistake after mistake in his music, glaring mistakes. And Colkitto, coming into what he expected would be a welcome celebration, he noticed the change in the piper's tune. And he realized that it was a warning. So quickly he gave orders, and all of his ships turned around and fled. Of course, the Campbells were not happy about this, and they immediately recognized that this was the piper's fault. So they hauled him down from the ramparts, and they told him that he, after that day, would never be able to play such a warning again. They ordered him to extend his arms, and with one swift stroke of a sword, they chopped off his hands. Now, some people say that the piper bled to death quite quickly, massive blood loss. Others say that his foes did not want him to have a quick death, so they cauterized his stumps, and he died slowly. But quickly or slowly, die he did, there in the dungeon of Duntrune Castle. And over the years, the legend was told and retold that piper's ghost haunted Duntrune Castle, that you could see the ghostly figure on the ramparts and hear the pipe music. Of course, most people thought that that was a historical embellishment. They didn't believe that it really happened or that there would be a ghost there now. But in 1888, when there were some renovations on Duntrune Castle, they pulled up a slate floor in one of the rooms, and underneath the floor they found a grave. As they uncovered the skeleton, they uncovered the skull, the shoulders, the torso, the arms, the complete skeleton, except it had no hands. And just a few years ago in this century, there was another discovery made under another of the floors in Duntrune Castle. A small box, a box containing just the skeletons of 2 hands. So if you were to go to Duntrune Castle, when the sun sets and the moon rises, if the night is dark and the mist begins to gather, you might look up and see on the ramparts of the castle a ghostly figure, the figure of a piper, and you might hear the sounds of a tune that is known as the piper's warning.